It does show that it's recording up in the left hand side of my thing. And I got a message saying it was recording when I first came on.
Yeah, that's a different recording than
Oh, okay.
when what I'm trying to do. So I think I got it. All right. Sorry for the confusion. All right, we're super excited that you guys are here. We are. It is so hard to believe that it's April 11th or April 1st. I mean, April Fool's Day, right? It's so crazy. So I am going to invite my friend Ann Taylor on, and we're going to talk about what the drops have done for her. So, Ann, are you there?
I'm here.
Picture. Okay, great.
Yes. And
Um, Go ahead.
that's the photo you were pulling up is the before and after.
Yeah, I wanted everyone to
Perfect.
see it because so Anne and I have known each other for I
24
think
years.
23 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um and and so and we've had a lot of similar health challenges, not all the same, but similar things. And so um she didn't believe me when I was telling her that this product would help her. And then sweet Melanie started using the product and was like, it is legit. It's
Actually, it was it how it went is that Melanie, said this, and I was like, Anne's been talking to me about him for a while, and I was like, I just don't know. And she goes, if I send you and Jeff a box of drops each, will you just try them?
Mhm, mhm.
And I was like, yes, I'll try them for that. And so the point behind that, everyone, is sometimes when it's someone you really know would be good at the business, it's worth that investment. It's worth that free box of drops. It's worth that to send it and have them, try them.
Right.
And I
Well,
was so
but
skeptical.
tell them how long you've known Melanie.
Well, oh
I
yeah,
mean,
So
that,
Melanie,
like
yes.
that's really important. Like how long you've known Melanie, how long you have been were in business with her, because those are important things.
Absolutely. Melanie was my upline in another company. And so I worked closely with Melanie for 24 years. And when I left the other company, Melanie and I's friendship continued. We were, talking frequently throughout life. And so there was a long, consistent relationship. Where this kind of comes from at the beginning when Anne's talking about my health is I got really sick in 2020. Couldn't breathe, didn't know what was going on. Saw an allergist, was diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome. Really not sure where that was coming from. Had CT scans, found 40, 50 nodules in my lungs. And so immediately went into a PET scan. I had a lot of markers that were weird, really off. And physicians couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm married to a physician, so I had access to some of the very best physicians in Oklahoma. And I saw probably 5 or 6 different specialties, and no one could figure out what was wrong. And so I went in for an open lung biopsy where they go in and they took 3 wedge resections from my right side lobes and sent it off to pathology. And you guys, no one. It was at the Mayo Clinic at 3 different places, and no one could figure out what was wrong, what I had. And so what happened was I got a diagnosis of exclusion, pulmonary sarcoidosis. And very odd. Like, this is an older woman, older man disease, and I was 44 years old, diagnosed with pulmonary sarcoidosis. So, again, my physicians just said, we're not smart enough to know why you have this. Fast forward a year, I started seeing functional medicine, talking on the phone with Wandishin about, go see functional medicine, get into all of this. I was diagnosed with mold exposure and something called CIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome. Anne and I share the same kind of genetic mutation, and we both have CIRS. And so we both had horrible mold exposure that was really affecting our health.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually in a 4 year detox protocol, and I was in the middle of a protocol when Anne found the drops and was like, this would help you. Oh my gosh, Anne, this would help you. But I was in the middle of this protocol and I was so scared to invite something else in because I was following something very regimen. And what Anne did, which was really wise, was she said, stay there. Stay doing the protocol. Like, I completely understand. And so my other tidbit here is sometimes you meet people where they're at because you can't say the right thing to the wrong person and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. But back at that time, it wasn't the right time for me. It wasn't in an alignment because y'all, I didn't even have the bandwidth or the brain capacity to even consider something else. So fast forward to 2025, I'd really gotten through that Shoemaker protocol with the mold detoxing. I was healthier. I was in a better place. But I still didn't have the brain capacity to start a business, to be honest with you. I wasn't interested. I had retired from MLM. I was done. Well, when Melanie's like, I think this is what I'm going to do. And I was like, good for you. Good, good. And she goes, if I send you and Jeff a box, would you try them? Okay, for you, I'll do it. Absolutely, I'll try them. Again, as Anne mentioned, it's the relationship, right? Melanie and I had a trust that that I was like, absolutely for you, I'll try it. And she had the trust to send me 2 boxes for free. So what happened was I started the drops. What were some of my things that I was desperate for energy, you guys. I always say this and I don't mean to be crass, but my give a shit meter was broken. Like, and I am an opinionated person. So whenever they would say, "What do you want for dinner?" I don't care. "What do you want to do this weekend?" I don't care. What do you where do you want to go on vacation? I don't care because I honestly didn't have enough energy to even care, let alone enough energy to get things done in the house or in a job working 40 hours a week. That was draining. So I was desperate for energy. I also have an inflammatory disease. And so my body responds with inflammation. And I had so much inflammation that I was getting ready to start another round of steroids because the inflammation was affecting my brain fog. I couldn't take my rings off. I wasn't sleeping through the night. My clothes didn't fit, but nothing else. It wasn't my food intake was different. Inflammation was just crazy. And as I mentioned, I wasn't sleeping through the night. I mean, I probably could have texted any of you guys at 2 or 3 in the morning and y'all would have been up too. And we probably could have solved all the world problems right then. But we don't really think what it is. I started the drops, and literally 3 days later, I looked like Magda from There's Something About Mary. I literally was cleaning and vacuuming out every single one of my kitchen drawers, reorganizing my pantry. I took all the cushions off my couches and was vacuuming under all. My husband came home and he's like, "What in the world? Like, what is going on?" I was like, "I don't know, but I'm going to utilize this energy." And y'all, it hasn't stopped. It has not stopped. About this photo that you're looking at right here, same restaurant, same jacket I have on, same me, same Jeff, but we had been on the drops for 74 days. That's like almost 10 weeks. And you can see when I showed my functional medicine doctor this, she goes, "Okay, you don't look like the same. It almost looks like sisters.
Right.
Like the shape of your face is
Right.
different." Jeff's, I
Like your
mean, look at
eyes, look your eyes,
the
your
clarity.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can really see it in Jeff's. Like
Yeah.
his inflammation really went down. Now, let me tell you, Jeff is a type 2 diabetic. You wouldn't necessarily look at him and assume that, but we always laugh. He's Native American, and we say the laziest thing about him is his pancreas. And it just doesn't produce insulin. Well, y'all, he started the drops. We started him, and his blood sugar was averaging about 300. He was on medication, but it just wasn't working. 3 weeks on the drops, his blood sugar was averaging about 160. So, with no other changes, really, except adding in the drops, which is going to change your dietary habits as well, his blood sugar was balancing out about 160. Since he's changed some diabetic medication, he is eating very clean, very keto, and his blood sugar ranges between 90 and 100, a flat line all the time now. So the drops have increased his energy, his sleep, renew. You guys, if you're not sleeping, you better just get renew on your auto ship, because that's a game changer for people our age, especially with inflammation. Any kind of mold exposure or toxic exposure, renew is your best friend. So, where this comes to is Ann and I have had multiple conversations because we share so many of the similar health issues going on. You guys, we're not alone. Ann and I are not the only two on this call, probably, who have these kind of exposures. Buffy knows exactly what we're talking about. She has the same stuff. This is an area that I think we miss the boat and we don't necessarily discuss and talk about. It doesn't mean you need to talk about it. Please do not sell your soul or your integrity to sell a box of drops just to try to save someone from a diagnosis. That's not what we mean by this. But some people don't realize where their inflammation is coming from. And these drops coming in and balancing out all of these foundational hormones can sometimes be the missing piece to the puzzle. I was eating clean. I was doing, my infrared sauna 4 times a week. I was doing every single thing that needed to be done for inflammation, but my foundational hormones were whacked out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never going to release that inflammation without balancing out those foundational hormones. Because let's be honest, when was the last time you had your leptin or ghrelin tested? Never.
Right. Right. And like, and the thing that the thing that the drops do is they naturally open up those detox pathways, which is why Anne and her husband both saw a shift. They were already taking care of themselves with their food, she had already done a protocol. So if you have someone so just to kind of give you a little bit of so this is like the reason I wanted Anne. I called her like last week. I think it was like, I really want you to share your testimony because I want you to understand that there are multiple things I'm going to hit on here, and I wanted her to share because there's so much to unpack with what she shared. So the first one is I want to reiterate that she and Melanie have been friends and done business together for over 20 years. Okay, that's really important to understand with why, and Anne had talked to me about the drops, and then Melanie comes and joins and decides and wants Anne to use the drops, right? So it's like she's hearing about, so I'm just sharing with you, Anne's seen the posts. She's had a conversation with me, friend to friend, like person suffering to person suffering. And then her dear friend of many years and person that she worked in business with for many years decides to do this as a business, and that is what Anne needed to say yes to using the drops. Then the drops make a difference, and she decides to do this as a business when she had sworn off this industry. Okay, so I think that that's really important to understand, um, because the relationship is everything. It's everything. And Anne knows that, you know, though Melanie has not had the same medical stuff that Anne and I've had, they share an incredible relationship that they've had for years. And so Melanie, it's that's how it's supposed to work, I guess, is what I really want to say, is that's how it's supposed to work. The relationship is to be honored. The person and their journey needs to be honored. Just like what I said to Anne, like, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing the right protocol, because I've done the shoemaker protocol myself. I knew that that was going to be what she needed to do to get the mold out of her body. Um, and so again, is this product going to heal? No, it's not. No, this product does not heal. We're not diagnosing anything. Anne and I share like one of, you know, one diagnosis we share, and the drops have made the biggest difference to support my foundational health, to support Anne's foundational health, as we are still on this journey of reclaiming our wellness. So that's really important to understand. And so Anne, I want to ask you if there's anything else you'd like to share, because I'm going to kind of go into this a little bit more with the training today on, and I'd love for you to share too, as I'm talking about some things.
And I think you hit on something that was really big, that you honor the relationships, right? Relationships matter. And if you talk to someone about this business or about the products and about the business, and it doesn't convert, and then you find out a week or two later or a month or two later, or like Anne and I, a year later, that they joined someone else, you bless and release, and you love them where they're at, because sometimes, well, one person will never make or break your business. And the relationship that Melanie had, honest to goodness, I say this frequently, Melanie Barkley is the only person who could have pulled me out of MLM retirement.
That's
There
right.
is no other person that I would have said yes to. And so I would have not been in this business at all had it not been for Melanie, because that's where, that's my safety, my security, my trust, my history all comes from. And so Melanie, for 24 years, I've called her my sugar, because you know, it's a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And Melanie is so good at that.
Mhm.
And I needed a little bit more sugar in my life. I needed more relationships,
Mhm.
but Melanie was the only safe place for me to come back into this industry. So one of the things that I also want to say is Anne Wandishin does a phenomenal job of, it doesn't matter where you are in her organization. She is going to love you and train you and pour into you as if you are direct to her. And that is one of the things that Anne is so good at. And I want us all to take that example and do that for everyone. It doesn't matter if they're first, second, third, seventh generation, they're here. And they're here for a reason. And if they're a sideline, if they're not even in our organization, love on them, pour into them, because Lisa Dank signed up one of my dearest friends from another company. And it was before I got in, that this other girl, but we text, we encourage one another. We are constantly, and it doesn't matter that we're here. But and I just think that's one of our things that we can all take from you as an example, is pour into anyone and everyone, regardless where they are.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. You're so kind. I absolutely, what I love that we have here is that, which is the reason why I started, you know, I even considered doing this, is because the products work. the products really work. The products really do help people. So when you have someone like Anne or me who are, so this is really what I wanted to talk about today, and Anne was really kind of the perfect person to share her testimonial because of the struggles she's had with her health, just like I've had. But it's great to have someone else besides you share, right? And the fact that we share a lot of the same challenges with our health, it makes a difference. So this is what I wanted to really share with you guys today, is that when you have someone like Anne or me, now Anne, so this is what I want you to understand. Anne saw a difference, and so did her husband, very quickly. I saw a difference, and so did my husband, very quickly. But why did we, but there are going to be people who don't see a difference or feel a difference, and there's many reasons why. Buffy touched on one of them this morning on the IPA. Some people don't have great awareness with their bodies, their minds, they don't have awareness with how they're feeling. They don't pay attention to how much water they drink. They don't pay attention to what time they started eating that day, if they even ate. They just don't have awareness about their body. And they might start the drops because it's the first time in their life that they haven't felt well. Well, I've had many years in my life, so has Buffy, so has Anne, that I didn't feel well. So I actually have a lot of awareness, and I would say Anne does too, and so does Buffy. I'm just using them as examples, that we all have a lot of awareness with our bodies, how we're feeling, what's going on. And so we're more in tune with, when I add a product like the drops, I did feel a difference. I knew something was happening, and I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I felt really off for a few days, really off.
Do you remember that I called you
Yeah,
because I was having what's called a Herx reaction,
right,
which is HERX, a Herx reaction to the drops. And I was like, Anne, I have a headache, like when I started my mold detox. And
right.
she was like, it's a Herx, it's cellular detox, but you have to be aware that that's not a negative thing if someone says that. And one other thing that you were saying with Buffy, saying awareness, sometimes we have to even put the, when people have a little bit more focus at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they don't realize that that's energy.
Mhm.
They've never thought, they're saying, well, I didn't want to go exercise or run a mile today, and so I didn't have more energy. But having more focus is even energy. And I think sometimes, that's a question you can ask when people say they haven't really seen a difference. A lot of times at that point, I'll say, what does your 2 o'clock look like now? Do you have a little bit more focus? Are you not needing to grab, a snack, a Coke, or a coffee? And they're like, you know what? I, you're right. I haven't. Now that's also leptin ghrelin, but it's also energy that they might not be just aware of.
Yeah. And so that being said, what I want you to understand is that, as Buffy talked about this morning, if you were on the IPA, what she touched on is that sometimes we've got to ask some questions in our follow-up. We need, when we're saying, how are you doing? Oh, I don't feel any different. Okay, well, so if you have time and it's not 10 o'clock at night, see if the person has time to hop on the phone. Or you leave them a voice memo, because I think that that's powerful, where you're like, hey, Anne, okay, so you said you're not feeling any different. Do you have time to chat? Or, I'm going to leave you a voice memo because I'm running some errands and don't want to get interrupted, or whatever, however you want to put it. But to ask them some questions. Okay, so have you been taking your drops? have you been taking your drops, bottle 1 and 2, morning and noon, making sure it's before 3 p.m.? Are you taking bottle number 1 in the evening? Again, this is the US drops, right? Okay, that we're focused on. Reviewing that, reviewing their water intake, reviewing their protein. Are you eating? You guys, that's really important. Are you eating? There are people that think that they can do this and not eat and, oh, I'll lose even more weight. No, doesn't work that way. They have to eat. Are they, what's your sleep like? Are you moving your body? So asking those questions, and then if they're like, well, I haven't really felt anything, or maybe maybe they are having some detox symptoms. So I did feel off the first few days, and I remember saying to my friend Julianne, I know something's happening, so I'm going to keep going. And she's like, yes, keep going. And so I kept going with the drops. I got that energy that Anne talked about. We were moving back from Colorado back to St. Louis to help with my parents. It was May of 2024 that I started taking the drops, but we moved at the beginning of June or mid-June. I had a lot going on, and I couldn't get over the focus. I also couldn't get over how I wasn't stressed about the move. And we had a lot of moving parts. I had a kid graduating from college, a kid graduating from high school. Irene was graduating from kindergarten. I had a lot of moving parts. There was a lot going on, and I wasn't freaking out. And my family couldn't believe how I wasn't, because what had started to happen for me, at that time I was almost 53. I'm almost 55 now. Like, I would be stressed going on a trip. And so the fact that I wasn't stressed about the move, I was able to do the things I needed to do to do the move. I wasn't stressed. I was able to be present. I was able to focus on like the relationships and when I was, moving away and all the things. And that really got my attention, which is that's why I started looking at this as a business. And that's why I started, that's why I called Billy, and I called Millie, and I called Stacy, and I called Petra. Like, that's why I made those phone calls, because I couldn't believe how great I felt. And I have been taking really great products for years and years and years. And that was the thing. So we're going to talk about some practical things. These are some practical things that I think are really important as you are following up with your droppers, because really in the end, we sell product and we sell a business. That's what we do here. Like, we're helping people build a business. We're helping people create an income, but we're selling product. We are a product-driven company. So it's really important for us. This is our number one seller. It's really important for us not just to sell them, but also to provide that care with the product so that people are able to experience and understand what it is that they're experiencing. So Buffy shared this morning how she has really sold a lot of 4-packs, and she shared her verbiage in the chat. I'm not sure if you want to share a little bit more, Buffy, but
Yeah, I don't know how going out.
But I would what I love is that Buffy, because of Buffy's experience, she understands probably more than the average one of us, let me just put it that way, how important the 90 to 120 days is. So I'm gonna say one more thing, because this is really important for people like me. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's in 2009. I was diagnosed with SIRS. I don't even know what year it was. Mold, biotoxin, sleep apnea. Like, the list goes on. SIBO. Like, my list is this long. I don't even whatever. It's not, it doesn't define me. Okay. So that's why I always say I was diagnosed with. I do not say I have, because I don't have that. It was just something I was diagnosed with. But I want you to understand, when people are in the midst of things that they have been diagnosed with and they are dealing with bigger things than perimenopause symptoms. I'm not trying to minimize those symptoms, okay? But let's just say it's bigger than that. You really need to pay attention and really support them. And you need to convey to them that this really takes time.
Which can I
Yes.
interrupt real quickly?
Yes.
Because one of the things, I have two things to suggest on follow up is, and it might be from my own experience, right? I did have 3 days in my energy because I was so depleted, but I've started asking these two questions in the first 5 days, because in the first 5 days, the majority of our droppers are not going to see a difference. And if we're asking that, we're asking unrealistic expectations, right? We're planting unrealistic expectations. So the two things that I follow up with at the beginning are, hey, what do you think about the taste? Because everyone has an opinion on the taste, right? And where I come for that, if they say they hate it, they love it, I don't care, because where it's coming from is, just get ready because the taste will change. So regardless of if they love it or they don't, get ready, the taste will change as your body starts to find balance. The other thing I'm asking is, how are you doing getting in 3 drops a day? Because we're forming a new habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest part at the beginning, is remembering to get the drops in 3 times a day. So instead of asking, how are you feeling? Are you noticing any shifts? Talk about two things that are important to this, but aren't going to set up unrealistic expectations or focus on discouragement. What do you think about the taste?
Mm-hmm.
And are you remembering to get them in 3 times? How's that habit forming?
Yeah.
I have a chart that I send every single time I have a new dropper. I'm like, because the hardest part is forming a habit. Here's a chart that you can print off for the week to make sure that you take them. So that's kind of just a couple of things. I too am just like Buffy, and maybe it comes from our experience. My team, we sell 4 packs. In the first 30 days, she's been in for 60 days. She's sold 98 boxes of drops and only selling 4 packs.
Yeah. Yeah, because what happens is you understand the value of that commitment to that cellular change, right? Helping the body. So a couple of things. One thing that a lot of times when I have people, Elisa, I see your questions. So I'm going to have Buffy come on in just a second to talk about 4 packs. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. I have people reach out to me and they're like, oh, so-and-so is frustrated because they haven't lost any weight in the first 30 days. So, which I totally get. I totally get it, because we're sharing these pictures, right? And I totally get it. And that is where it is important to get them on a call or a 3-way chat. I prefer Messenger because I can leave voice memos on there easier than your phone, or doing a 3-way call with someone. So I'm going to talk about a few different things that can stall weight loss, okay? Because everyone's different. So first of all, it's important to understand what their goals are. So if they're like, I'm just frustrated, I haven't lost any weight. Okay, well, let's review what your health goals are. Let's review why you started on the drops. And so that I can help you with managing your expectations. And so that's one of the reasons why it is important for us to convey, hey, it's really important, we didn't get where we are in the last 30 days, so it's going to take more than 30 days. This is a homeopathic product. This is not magic for the body to balance. in the event that someone has a thyroid condition or an autoimmune, I want you to go ding, ding, ding and understand that it can take time. That's really important to understand. The reason why Anne and her husband had results more quickly is because they were already doing protocols to support their body at the cellular level. Do you understand? Does
And
that make
ours
sense?
was not a weight loss.
Right,
It was a reduction of
right,
inflammation,
right.
which was a little bit of weight, but that's exactly right, Anne. It was a foundation of it was there. It was already opening.
Right, right. So what the drops did is they opened everything up so that their bodies were actually able to function better, which is why they were able to release that inflammation and they feel better, they have energy, they can focus, they're sleeping. All the things are working because they were already doing a lot of things in their body like to support themselves. So what I think the most important thing to understand is that everybody comes with something different. Everybody enters the room with something different. And our job is to hear where they are and support them. Okay? To support them and to encourage them. And so one of the reasons why Buffy is so great at what she does is because she listens really well and she finds what she's also had a health journey of at least I'd say 25 years. And then she found support that she needed. She reclaimed her wellness. And then she's been on a mission to find the easy buttons for people to be able to incorporate into their life, into their busy schedules. And the drops in these products are those things. Those are like the easy buttons she's found, okay? And so Buffy, I would love for you to share more about I don't know, just maybe like let's say you were having a conversation with someone um and they saw a post and they were like, "Hey, they know you, they know your background. And I saw a post, I think I want those drops." And let's say that they have, like, let's say it's someone that like it's someone that maybe has struggled with their weight or had some health challenges or something like that. Like, or whatever. Like maybe you just approach the same thing the same with everyone. I'd love to hear what your like what you say. Like I know you follow the scripts, but then what do you do after that? And what are you doing to sell the 4-pack? And then I'd want you to explain how you offer the account, but you also, like, if they just want to get them from you, what the price is that we do.
Okay. So, thank you for both of you, Anne and Anne, for sharing. And it's so amazing to be in a position to where, and I do see this as a value offer that I get to give someone. And I think that every single one of you have the same value offer, maybe in a different way. But it's just relating to what they're going through. And there's value in that. They feel it, they know it. And it also doesn't have to be something that takes, you hearing their whole entire life story about what's going on. And again, I would love to say that I was completely intentional about doing all of this and I saw the 4-pack in mind, but what I saw more than anything was not about a 4-pack. It was about really setting them up for success, because their body and the things they're dealing with, they didn't get that way overnight, right? They didn't get that way in 30 days. And if so, honestly, like there's bigger issues going on. We need to dive a little bit deeper. But and I put the script and I'm happy to put it in the chat here too. I keep it very simple. My marketing gal says you should speak to everyone at fourth grade level. So I can't come out of the box with my cellular detox certification talk and talk metabolic health and talk about autophagy and talk all the things that I can't do that. So I really have to come back to that place where I just reaching them and understanding where they are. And so I say it's very simple. It's like, I'm so happy that you're interested in the drop. I recommend 90 to 120 days because I think, Ann, you alluded to it. My phone cut out for a tiny bit, but the success stories that we're posting, those weren't 30 days, right? And so it's okay to be very honest and very clear about the time frame. That the people that had the biggest things to deal with took a longer amount of time. And so I just lay that out. I'm like, they've seen my posts, they've seen those drastic, some of them are very drastic before and after. And I just remind them, hey, you know what? I want to recommend that you commit to 90 to 120 days to give your body a chance to fully balance out. And I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of argument. There's not a lot of people saying, oh, well, if they do have objections, it's going to be, is it all right to start with one box? Yes, it's totally fine for you to start with one box, right? Because I've already planted the seed, I've already laid the groundwork. But I have not had that many people, I mean, that have said, no, I'll just do one box. The girl that I did say, I'll just do one box, is one of my ones from yesterday that ordered the buy three, get one free. And I have followed up with her, and she has had wins and she has had differences. And some of our discussions have been around, okay, like what is left on your list, right? She's had more energy. She lost a few pounds in her first couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, what are your bigger wins? What do you want to see long term? And so some of it is just a little bit of a discussion, like Ann said. Some of it is that, like my one yesterday, she saw a post. I don't even remember what decade I spoke to this gal last. I mean, I really couldn't tell you. It's been a long time. And I just recommended, I said, you know, I would recommend 90 to 120 days. She wanted to buy one box. And I said, that's when I put in my verbiage. I said, I recommend 90 to 120 days. I do have a really great deal. Thank you, Ann. To buy three, get one free. And she said, what's your Venmo? I mean, that it was a super simple, easy discussion because, and I feel like for every single person, and Ann Taylor can probably speak to this too, for every single person that bought a 4-pack for me, you guys imagine that you're not in the first 30 days, you're not working on converting them, right, to a client. You're not working on you're in for the long haul, and you know they're in for the long haul, and you're going to get to send them resources and different things. And then whenever I'm only on my, you know, kind of on my first 30 days of the first cycle since I started posting. So now I get to say, have the fun conversations, right? Where it's like, how are you sleeping? You know, if you haven't reached your sleep goals yet, man, I really want to talk to you about Renew. Because, and again, it's just upgrading where they are and what they're experiencing. So some of it could be that people knew my own health journey. Some of it could be that like I told today, I was like, say it with a smile when you type it, or type it with a smile and send it with confidence. Because when you look at Kim Gray, when you look at Crystal Vance, I don't care who you look at, that was not a 30-day transformation. So we really need to be very genuine when we're sharing, and so that people, and I'm going to say this is probably not something I would share publicly, but if people aren't committed to doing something for more than 30 days to get what they really want out of life, it doesn't matter. It'd be better if they didn't even use your drops for 30 days. It'd be better if you just said, I'm going to keep praying that you find the solutions you're looking for and just let go. Because we both know that attitude determines a whole lot. It determines direction and it determines motivation too. And then there's other people I've found that it's a little bit more ministry, right? That they have lost their husband. They're not motivated. They're struggling with motivation. I'm like, well, then whatever you do, these drops will help. Get those drops in your body. I don't care about, because they're like, well, I'm not eating well right now. I didn't want to waste my drops. I'm like, don't waste the drops sitting in the bottle. like give the drops a chance. Let them help be that point that will turn you and give you the motivation and help you to feel better and have more energy like Ann did. So I feel like the commitment part's first. And I've noticed this too. If I'm not desperate for their sale or desperate for them to use my drops or my products, um, then they almost are more determined to get the information from me. And so again, it's just that I have a lot to offer. You have a lot to offer. We want to offer wonderful things. But we only want to offer it, like Ann said, to the people who are really looking for us. And I feel like that the comparison of the 1 box to the 4 boxes is just simply a little bit of me planting a seed, and you can do that too. Plant that seed, let them know this is long term. And if I do talk to them, I really do say I will not be surprised with by day 3, day 5 that you are feeling benefits of this. And I will say, and I know you said the products work. I absolutely love it. Doesn't matter what I'm offering to people. It doesn't matter if it's drops, renew, MOA. I mean, they all feel the difference. They can feel the difference the day. They can feel the difference after taking it. They can feel one night. They can feel the difference. And if they can't feel it, I drag it out. Like I said, some people just do not live with any connection to their body and how they feel and what's going on. And so I talk about that with them. And I have signed up a brand partner that wanted a 4 pack of drops. I've signed up a customer who didn't even let me get finished telling her the pricing. She just went online, searched for my name, and signed up as a customer. So that stuff happens too. I was like, oh, I hope she signed up under me, but she did. And then I have people when I offer if they want an account, they don't want one. And guess what, you guys, I think everybody would be all right in saying this. I don't mind selling drops to somebody for the next year, 2 years. If they, I mean, I don't mind that. And to be perfectly honest, I was the person that said, oh no, I'm not selling retail and I'm not, and you can laugh out loud. And I'm not shipping out product, right? I'm not posting and look at me now. See, anybody can do this. Anybody can do it. So, does that answer
Yeah.
most of the
No, I think
questions?
that's
Okay.
really,
I, I,
really
I
helpful.
see something in the chat of why not signing up for a discount. Here's one of the other things too. Remember that you're the CEO of your business. Log in to your account. Don't or log into go to Partner Co. Sorry, do not log into your account and see what the retail is for 1 box, for 2 boxes, and for 4 boxes. And then you determine what you want to charge. Because if that's their retail, you guys, it's not 176 times 4 for a 4 pack. That even Partner Co is giving a discount for a 4 pack. So that's where these prices that Ann Wandishin put in the chat came from. But do some ownership. Find out the reason behind why we offer them at that cost. Because if you buy a 2 pack, it isn't $400. It already has a discount in there. But if you know the reason behind the why, there's a lot more credibility. You can defend it. You can talk about it. The other thing is
And
this.
yeah, I was
I
going to
love
say,
selling.
some people
Do
don't.
what?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you can't force someone to get an account that doesn't want an account.
Right.
People ask,
And
why not sign them up? And I'm like, because they say no. And I respect
well,
it, at
and the
least for
other
now.
thing is this, you guys, when you get someone on 2 boxes or 4, oh my gosh, you guys, you have commitment right there. And you have some of the lowest hanging fruit. This is your warmest market to get them to do a drop talk for you so you can get into their circle of influence, or to convert them into being a brand partner, or do your sister, do your mom, your best friend. Don't be so jumping on needing to convert to a subscription or a brand partner that you miss the courting stage, because sometimes you need to date them a little bit, and that fruit just gets lower and lower and lower on the branch to where they're coming at you saying, I want to do this. Don't but don't also neglect to follow up. just because they have 4 boxes. They have 4 boxes. That's, as Buffy said, you get them on Renew, you get them on MOA or on Noni during that time period because you're getting to know them, you're courting them, you're forming this amazing relationship. And that's why we're not just going up for the subscription or the discount. I'll give them
Right.
a good price because I want the conversion of them loving these products as much as we do.
Right.
And that's the other thing too about like some of my 4 packs have been, the wife reached out, but her husband wanted to do it. So they split a 4 pack. I've had friends splitting 4 packs too. So the majority of people are just themselves, but I mean, it's amazing, how much when it's just a little bit off, right? It's amazing. And Anne, you're exactly right. It is about meeting where they are. Anne told me in the beginning, and I tell it like, get in where you fit in. Right. And that's what, and I love the option in this business because I never had that before to be able to buy in bulk, offer something really great. It's win-win for me. It's win for them. And then be able to just figure out how that works. And I think in fact, it's a little more fun for me. Maybe it's just part of my personality and seeing it, but it's a little more fun for me to have this retail, I guess you could say, kind of customer, and then be able to figure out all the ways I can serve them, all the doors that it can open up. And then, like Anne's saying, just it's those seeds. You're just planting seeds every time. So some of it is we live in like a hush, hush, worry, worry, hurry, hurry world. I mean, it's like chaos to chaos. And I mean, when we can calm down this whole approach, they feel that too. And they're going to want that too. They
Yeah.
want calm, they want peace, they want understanding, and they want solutions. So we have all
Yeah.
of those.
Absolutely. So just let me go over the thought process with the pricing. Okay. So we buy our drops in bulk. They retail at 176 on the website. These are US numbers. That's before tax and shipping. So when you see on the SOG that there's a $33 coupon, that is 176 plus tax and shipping typically gets you to about $200. If I go online and I'm trying to ship 1 box to my door retail, it's 202. Okay, so I'm saving people at least $33 depending on where they live in the country on the drops when they buy them from me retail 1 box. Okay, that's where that pricing comes from. So we sell them for 167 when it's out of our bulk order. So 2 boxes, it's 2 times 167, which is 334. Awesome. But guess what? If someone does, like the reason why we share those 3 options, 1 box, 2 box, 3 boxes, buy 3, get 1 for free, is because that is the best value for the retail customer. It's the best value. So 3 times 167 is actually 501. Guess what? What sounds better than 501? 497. Why did we do that when we chose the pricing? Because they're actually saving 167 plus $4. Okay. Why did we do that? We did that because in marketing, like when a product ends in a 7 or a 9, people are they're more open to saying yes. And so guess what? That's why when Buffy, when we were coming up with when we were talking about selling the drops and her selling them retail, I was like, you know what? Let's try this because I've always done the 501. Do you know how many times people will just Venmo me $500 instead of the 501? A lot, because they just think they're like, it's 501, like it's a weird number. Whereas the 497, anyway, the point is that I do think that I would encourage you, if you are retailing the drops, I would encourage you when someone, you can do whatever you want. Like Ann said, this is your business, but I would encourage you to try that because I think you'll be surprised when you create the value that that you really want people to give this a solid, 3 to 4 months, and that they're buying 3 and they're getting 1 for free, you guys, that is a great value, right? And so I just wanted to kind of explain the concept behind the pricing, because I think that that's really important. And then I would say, I guess one of the things I really want to wrap it up with is I just really want to encourage you to really make sure that you're really meeting your customers where they are with their health journey. Again, I guess I am a little bit of a broken record with this today, and the reason is that a lot of times I get messages, or I get on a 3-way chat with someone, and it really is just, and a lot of times, so this is 2 things here. The 3-way chat is really important, because a lot of times that customer tells, like if I put Buffy into a 3-way chat with one of my clients, chances are the customer's going to tell Buffy more than they'll tell me. Okay? So that is the power of that 3-way chat. But the next thing is that I really want you to understand, when someone has a more complicated health background, it is really important to communicate with them that, I'll be really honest, like somebody who has a thyroid condition, I would say to that person, well, most people, we tell them, you want to give this 90 to 120 days because of your thyroid condition. I would recommend that you give this solid 6 months to 9 months that you are committed to using this product. Why would I say that to someone? Not to scare them, but to, under promise, over deliver. Some people are going to see a difference really, really quickly, but they might not, look at that Shauna Carroll testimonial. She did not lose 1 pound for 90 days? And then she lost 100 pounds in a year. So what I want you to understand is that it's really important when you combine autoimmune or thyroid with perimenopause, menopause, it's your body is in chaos. Okay? The drops are going to calm everything down and to create that awesome foundational balance that we need. But I will tell you, so again, full transparency, 6 months into me using the drops, I had a mast cell activation flare. I didn't know what was going on. I had an allergic reaction to something. I didn't know what it was. I had to go on prednisone. There was all this stress. It was a nightmare. I gained all the weight back plus more. So I was at the heaviest I had been. I weighed more than I weighed when I gave birth to my kids. I mean, it was a nightmare. So then when you look at my testimonial on my Facebook page that's pinned, it is January 2025 to December 2025, and I have released 25 pounds, and it's like a complete, what I want you to understand is that some people would have been like, these drops don't work. I had a mast cell activation flare. I was like, well, thank God I have these drops because I had a mast cell activation flare, right? So I just want you to understand that this product compounds. It's a compounding effect with how it's going to help your health. I just had my labs done again last week. In 2024, December of 2024, my leptin because I do go to a great functional med doctor, and then this is it. I'm wrapping it up with this. My leptin was at a 50 in December of 2024. December of 2025, my leptin was at a 19. And last week, so 3 months later, my labs were, my leptin was at a 17. It's trending down. I haven't lost any weight. I lost 25 pounds in the year of 2025. I haven't released any more since then. I'm sure part of it's been stress and some other things that I've had going on with my body. It's okay, but my leptin came down another 2 points. Like, I look at that as a win, right? Like, it's trending in the right direction, because when your leptin is around like a 10 for women or 11, then you're absolutely able to release weight. So I've been releasing weight even though my leptin it wasn't technically in the right range, okay? So I'm just sharing that with you because like, that's I look at that as like a big picture, and that's the drops compounding and using the other products where it's like a compounding effect that my body is getting healthier even in the midst of having mold re-exposure because it's everywhere and all the things. I mean, so I would love to say, I know we got started just a little bit late, but I want to ask if Anne or Buffy, if you have any other things that you'd like to add with wrapping it up.
I was going to share, I couldn't get it to copy and paste, but there is a great video on Todd's YouTube channel. I saw in the chat about mast cell activation. And Cindy Landis gave a really great product testimony around the burn product. So I would definitely go and find that.
The Limu and the burn.
Limu. Yes, Limu burn.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love it, Ann. I have to admit, I mean, I like to be transparent always because I feel like if any of you relate to this will really help you and support you. I did come from the network marketing industry, and I was kind of burnout on a lot of things. You see this theme here. And I will say, you know what, we were burnt out because we were trying to make our own systems. We were trying to make everything work, and you don't have to do that here, right? We have great leadership. We have a system that works. So plug in, it's plug and play, and you'll have fun if you do that. Secondly, with that, I wasn't necessarily willing. I was willing because I was very capable, but I wasn't willing because I was kind of worn out in thinking of coaching all these people through the drops and through their issues. And if you guys, you can shake your heads if that's you too. Like, if you just don't know how to do that, it's okay. But I will say, you know what spurs me on every single day? One is confidence that we have all the support that you need. This is not about what you have. This is what all the people around you have, me included, Ann included. I mean, there's so many incredible people on this call, and we have boards. We have great leadership. We offer 3-way calls. We didn't really do that before. We didn't have the same kind of support. So utilize the system, what you have. And then secondly, I have to add this, like, I pray and I ask God every time I get on the phone with someone, what do you want me to say to them? What do they need to hear, right? For their soul, for their mind, will, and emotions. Because if I spent so many years not feeling well that I couldn't remember when I did feel well. And now I flipped sides. Right now I'm like, I can't remember the last time I didn't feel well. So I want to help somebody get to that. And even if that's one drop at a time. I have had to tell people who say, I've got the Herxheimer, that's what Anne was referring to. It's just the adaptation to the detoxification. And I've told people, I don't care if you do one drop 3 times a day, follow the dose, but just one single drop, and we'll build you up because if they're having those type of reactions, y'all, they need these drops really badly. They just have to have them at a little bit lower dose so that their body can actually catch up with the detox. So because you're putting good things in and you're going to force bad things out without binders. That's why Restorix is really great. I could probably go on forever about what products to put people on that we have. Yes, let's do it
So yeah,
because we
yes,
do have
we
support
need
for
it.
people. I want
Yeah,
you to know you have support in answering the questions, and then we have the support to offer people with products. And
yeah.
so it's really a perfect scenario. So thank you, Anne.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you and Taylor and Buffy Ruthardt, especially since Buffy didn't even know she was sharing today. So that's always the best. So,
And
um,
can I share a quick housekeeping real quick?
uh-huh.
Hey guys, this has been awesome. Thank you. I just truly appreciate you all. Just real quick, those that are adding people to the drops for the Win group, please make sure that they're just brand partners to do the business. This is not a group for your preferred customers. And also, in order to be entered, admitted into the group, they have to have answered the questions. So please make sure when you add someone, you tell them to answer the questions so we can admit them. That's it.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
All
Thank you. You
right.
too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.